Hey, I'm Uncle Ricky, and this is another episode of Uncle Ricky's House. Look, the United States thought that we were probably in our most confused state ever when Matt Gaetz got Kevin McCarthy kicked out as Speaker of the House. And I guess maybe something a lot of even politicians in DC now and let's say constitutional scholars, political analysts really never thought about was that the country can't function government-wise as far as legislation, making legislation and doing the day-to-day business of the government, the federal government, without the Speaker of the House. And why is this? This because of the way that our government is set up constitutionally. It has to do with the job description of the Congress. The Congress is a combination of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Now, Congress itself, they make all the laws. All the laws, all the amendments to the Constitution. They're supposed to listen to the voice of the people, blase, 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 and rule accordingly in the theory that we are a democracy where the majority rules. But there's always a but.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've caught the signal too. The signal is for $33 trillion in debt, facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits. And our fellow Americans may be watching, wondering, how does that happen? How does the greatest country in the world have a process so broken that it would be laughed out of the rooms in the halls of the state legislatures where many of us come from? Here's how it works. The law says we're supposed to have the very single subject spending bills that my colleague referenced in the summer. That we're supposed to have that and move it. But there's a dirty little secret in this town, and that is if you delay, if you hold the bills, if you make multiple contradictory promises, as Speaker McCarthy has done, and you back everybody up against shutdown politics, well, nobody wants to shut the government down. No one cheers for a shutdown. And of course, when people are backed up against shutdown politics, the decision calculus changes. So year after year, decade after decade, we break the law and we do the same thing. We pass a continuing resolution, then we pass another continuing resolution, and then it's either another continuing resolution or an omnibus bill or a series of minibuses that lump these disparate things together. The American people want all of us to take votes on single subject matters. They don't want to see these things all mushed together and log rolled. And it was concerning to me to hear of news of a secret deal on Ukraine funding that would have log rolled more money with Ukraine with our southern border. Now,
before we get back into this video, look, you can tell this one's going to be a barn burner. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the comment button, and help me out with some ad money. But really, if you really want to contribute, go ahead and hit the super thanks and do what you feel like. Back to the movie. Unfortunately, we have been held hostage or taken hostage by a minority faction of the Republican Party. When Trump came down the escalator in 2015 and won the election in 2016, the Republican Party no longer existed. Trump infused and infected it with Trumpism from the bottom to the top. And now, even though they are not the majority of Republicans, the MAGA Republicans hold, I guess, an unequal amount of power over the operations of the Republican Party. They've taken the Republican Party far right. I mean, the Republican Party was always supposed to be the party of conservatives. In other words, do as little as possible government-wise so that the individual can prosper. And it's become a party of the rich get everything and the poor we just allow the poor to live in order to serve the rich. Whatever we want is the way that it should be, no matter what the Constitution says. In fact, let's just throw out the Constitution and make ourselves a dictator, a Donald Trump, Donald Trump is the only name on the Republican lips right now because all the rest of the 8 clowns proved how much of a clown show they were during the last debate. But back to where we are now. No Kevin McCarthy, no Speaker of the House. Congress can't function. The Speaker of the House is the linchpin between the legislative branch and is one of the linchpins between the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Now, the judicial branch, they're on an island all to themselves, and woe be to the one that decides to try to screw with them. Why do you think Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito are still on the bench? It's because nobody wants to piss off the heavy right-wing majority, thanks to Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Donald Trump's name just keeps popping up over and over and over. For a person that only did one term as president, was basically, I guess, realistically viable in the American political scene, the government scene, the international politics scene for 4 years. This mango painted mutton head is a never-ending story, and unfortunately, the story is a nightmare.
The yeas are 216. The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
But back to where we are. Gates is an attention-seeking asshole. And when the Republicans won the majority in the House of Representatives, and it was a number of times it was a win, but in practicality, it was a bitter defeat and from the beginning, because they were looking to have realistically a 20 or 30 seat plus position over the Democrats, and they only ended up with a 5-seat margin, and one of those seats might go away soon. Hopefully should have been gone away from day one when they found out that he was a liar, a cheat, and he had conned a whole congressional district into voting for him to be a representative from New York, and that was George Santos. How can you be a congressional representative making laws when you're not even the person that you say you are sitting in the House of Representatives? But back to where we are now, which is a mess. So this battle between the Freedom Caucus and Kevin McCarthy, went back and forth. McCarthy usually crumbled, but now the Freedom Caucus thought that they could shut down the country just to prove that they could do it. And they had driven the country, the game of chicken had gone to the point where it was either somebody flinched or there was going to be a head-on collision. And like with most head-on collisions, this country was probably not going to come out as well on the other side as it was when it went in. Now, when McCarthy finally grew a spine and decided to put the 5-year-olds back in the playpen and not kowtow to their ridiculous demand. Matt Gaetz just came out and said, "Hey, yo, you broke your promise." Not to mention that, he just piled that on because it was convenient to all the other promises that McCarthy had broken during his deal making to get to be Speaker of the House and to stay Speaker of the House. But when he gave them the right for one person to start the process to vacate the seat, he sealed his own death warrant. And it's amazing that he made it 9 months and a couple weeks and days, because there's no way that anybody can, either side, Republican or Democrat, can function the way the Speaker of the House should with that hanging over their head. But that's not saying that it couldn't be better, because Kevin McCarthy is a waste as a politician. He's a waste as a human being. But anyway, all of this put the country, the United States, in a situation that they have never been in before. And I would, seriously, all you MAGA people, I want to thank you for, I guess, excelling the United States progression through all the terrible shit that most countries go through before they cease to become countries. You put us on the fast track. Trump, thank you. Mitch McConnell, thank you. Paul Ryan, thank you. And on and on and on into whatever ad nauseum. And I don't even know what that means, but I like the sound of the word nauseum, because it reminds me of the nausea that I feel every time I think about how the United States is functioning or dysfunctioning right now.
Can you walk us through what will take place this week with regard to the Speaker of the House?
Yes, absolutely. We're in a serious weakened position. Republicans that control the majority in the House of Representatives. I want to remind everyone that we barely control the majority of the House, and that's only 1/3 of the federal government. What happened last week, I completely disagree with. It was 8 Republicans joining with all the Democrats in the House and basically throwing the gavel on the floor and saying it's now up for grabs at anyone that wants it. This is not a serious thing to do when you control the House of Representatives.
Now, there's other side issues, like social issues in the United States. Like, they still want to kill Social Security, and if you kill Social Security, you're going to start a revolution among the old people. And there's nothing worse than a cranky old person, pissed off because we can't afford to live in this country. Most of us can't. I'm not going to say everybody. But the wealth gap in this country, most of the old people, no matter how well off they thought they did, by the time they retire, they find out that without some kind of government assistance, you're not going to live unless you want to really reduce your quality of life. You want to go from living to existing. It's bad enough to wait on your paycheck, every 2 weeks or whatever you get paid by, but it's even worse to sit there and wait on Social Security to drop that pittance every month and try to figure out how to deal with that. And I'm not saying that it couldn't have been better, that, especially like in my case. I mean, I didn't do everything I was supposed to do, and now I got to live with it. But I still say I deserve to live, at least. But on to what we are now. And where we are now is nobody really knows, because, McCarthy caves. We got a 45-day extension, or we passed some appropriations bills individually, which is what the far right wanted. And we didn't include Ukraine in there, and that's what they wanted to. So it looks like they're winning, but they're not winning, because now they put themselves in a position where they are actually forced to govern, which is something that they cannot do because they are dysfunctional, to say the least. Now, the thing about replacing the speaker, on the surface it's supposed to be, an open thing. Whoever gets the most votes wins. But by tradition and I guess unwritten rules and regulations, it is the majority party gets to nominate the speaker. Well, now you have Stephen Scalise, and guess who? That former wrestling coach, alleged protector of sexual abusers, Jim Jordan, vying for the seat. And both of them are far right, both of them are Trumpy as Trump can be, and both of them would be bad, considering that, especially in Jim Jordan's position, and I guess maybe he is the favorite over Scalise. Scalise is popular in his state. Scalise is popular in the South. Scalise is popular with the far right, but Scalise has cancer. And we know how politicians and cancer go in this country. And Scalise also is still recovering from injuries that were inflicted upon him when a radical Democrat shot up the Republican team during the softball practice for the Republican versus Democrat annual softball game. Now, all that's being set aside, Jim Jordan has potential, like his idol Donald, has potential criminal baggage that he may have to carry through this election process to become Speaker of the House, and it may come to fruition while he is Speaker of the House. So now we have the third person in line to be president. Well, actually, the second person after the president, that may have criminal shit over his head. He may have supported sexual abuse when he was a wrestling coach at Ohio State. And at the very least, we know that Jordan is a liar. Look at all the stuff he's done with the fake oversight committee, all the evidence. They've even trumped up evidence to get Biden, and that evidence falls through because the people that they declare are star witnesses and whistleblowers end up I'm not even going to say confessing, just telling the truth about themselves. So, and every theory they've had has been debunked, discredited, and we know that the whole thing is a farce. But this is the person that may become the Speaker of the House.
It's still pretty much a mess, Chris. No one has made decisions in terms of who they're going to support. My colleague Scott Wong and I were able to report this morning that overnight, Congressman Scalise had been making phone calls, trying to make some initial inquiries to some of his colleagues about how they would feel about him as a speaker. Of course, he's been getting a seemingly positive reception to that because in just the last few hours, he made it official, sending a letter, filing to his conference that he is going to be putting himself up for speaker. And in many ways, that's unexpected, given the fact that he is the current #2 Republican. He has served in leadership before. He has been in Congress many years, and he's someone who's well known to this conference. That's not to say that he's not going to have numbers problems, especially when you consider the fact that he's far from the only one running. Congressman Jim Jordan, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, leading the oversight charge right now, along with several other chairmen, has also put his name forward. He was the first to officially do so. I caught up with Jordan this morning. He was trying to talk about the hard focus that he has on immigration, on oversight, the work that he has done against the Biden administration, all of those meant to appeal to the conservative parts of his conference. Nevertheless, it might not make him the only one. I also spoke with Kevin Hern, who's the head of the Republican Study Committee, who is clearly weighing his own run here. So they are going to have a lot of options in terms of who they could turn to next.
There was even a suggestion that, because you don't have to be a member of Congress to be the Speaker of the House, that they nominate and elect Donald Trump as Speaker of the House. And Trump even went along with it for a while until the thing in Israel happened, and he realized that, well, maybe this really might expose me, because I'm gonna have to really work. I'm gonna have to be involved in actual national business, and it's going to be so eventful, so important, that I may not be able to squeeze anything out for myself. So guess what? I'm gonna support Jim Jordan, because he's my guy. He's been between my butt cheeks since I came down the escalator. The world is in a crisis, and for some reason, irregardless of what problems we have and our inability to solve them or rectify them, we are smack dab in the middle of that crisis. People are looking to us for answers. We've even been blamed for the lack of intelligence that allowed Humas to attack Israel. Israel is a country all to itself. It is autonomous. We are allies, I guess, on paper, but Israel doesn't really listen to us. Israel does what it wants to. Israel's first interest is always and will forever be Israel. But yet, we're at the point where if we get another speaker, we may be at the point where we go all out because of some words written in the Bible to save one country, while letting another country that's actually striving for democracy, which is something that we believe in. And we have to, in the United States, our democracy from the very beginning had elements of corruption. So you cannot blame the Ukrainians, who are new to democracy, new to autonomous, basically a democratic, autonomous type of rule, for having growing pains. But the far right MAGA portion of Congress will do whatever they can to stop every bullet, to stop every dime, to stop humanitarian aid, to stop military aid to Ukraine. But they're going to bend over backwards, I guarantee you, to help the right-wing Netanyahu administration in Israel defeat a people. Humas has committed dastardly acts, but it was not without provocation. Israel has also done some really dastardly dumb shit to the Palestinians. And their answer to winning the war basically is to starve and kill as many Palestinians as they can until the Palestinians collapse in defeat. Crazy world we live in. A lot of things to think about, a lot of things to meditate on, a lot of things to be aware of. But this thing in the United States right now, we stuck on stupid, and unfortunately, guess what? No matter what side of the aisle or what platform you accept or reject, or what you think about politics or what you think about American government, we dug our own grave by allowing the lunacy to take root and then take hold of our government. We just paying the price, paying the piper. Well, that's it for me for now. I'm gonna say peace out and God bless everyone. And I hope that we get the opportunity to do this again, because it ain't looking good. But other than that, see you when I see you.